Qui parmi nous connaît la Malaisie? Qui sait que le monde entier s'y retrouve? Car la Malaisie, c'est l'islam plus la Chine, plus l'Inde, plus l'Occident. Mais c'est aussi la Malaisie, c'est-à-dire le résultat de toutes ces influences sur ce territoire. Il suffit de regarder une carte. La Malaisie est comme l'angle de l'Asie, comme sa pointe, équidistante des blocs énormes de l'Inde et de la Chine. La Malaisie, c'est 330 000 km² en tout, à peine plus que l'Italie, et seulement 23 millions d'habitants, ce qui est bien peu pour cette région du monde. C'est une nation jeune dont le peuplement est le reflet fidèle de l'histoire. Il y a d'abord les Malais, car Malais et Malaisiens ce n'est pas la même chose. Les Malais constituent le peuplement de souche de la Malaisie, présent depuis plus de 2000 ans, et qui forment encore aujourd'hui plus de 50% de la population. Le mot de Malaisien, lui, désigne l'ensemble des citoyens de la Malaisie, c'est-à-dire les Malais, augmentés des Chinois et des Hindous immigrés au fil des siècles. À partir du XVe siècle, ces Malais, jusque-là hindouistes et bouddhistes, se convertissent à l'islam sous l'influence de voyageurs indiens. Puis, successivement, ce seront les Portugais catholiques, les Hollandais protestants et les Anglais anglicans qui occuperont de façon totale ou partielle la Malaisie. Dès le XIXe siècle, les Britanniques feront venir de Chine, puis d'Inde et du Sri Lanka des millions de travailleurs pour les mines d'étain et les plantations d'EVA. Ce sont parmi ces populations de Chinois et d'Indiens que le christianisme fera œuvre de conversion. Le catholicisme aura repris pied dans le pays par l'œuvre des missions étrangères de Paris dès le XIXe siècle. En 1957, la Malaisie acquiert son indépendance et instaure un régime démocratique et autoritaire sous la forme d'une monarchie constitutionnelle. La première crise nationale intervient en 1969. Des émeutes interethniques sanglantes éclatent dans les villes entre les Malais et les Chinois. La cause en est l'énorme disparité entre les Chinois qui contrôlent 80% de l'activité économique et la majorité malaise qui demeure dans une pauvreté souvent proche de la misère. Sous la conduite de dirigeants énergiques, le gouvernement s'engage alors dans une politique de favorisation des Malais, leur réservant les emplois publics et des avantages pour la prise de contrôle de sociétés commerciales et industrielles. Grâce à l'installation d'une économie de marché compétitive, la Malaisie est devenue le 5e dragon asiatique. En 1991, le Premier ministre Mahathir Mohamed a fixé à la Malaisie pour l'horizon 2020 l'objectif d'égaler le niveau de vie des pays occidentaux, valeur asiatique en plus. Car pour les pouvoirs publics malaisiens, s'il y a une supériorité de l'Asie sur l'Occident, c'est bien celle des valeurs que l'Ouest a perdues et que l'Extrême-Orient a su conserver. Aujourd'hui en Malaisie, pour 100 citoyens, on compte en gros 54 musulmans, 19 bouddhistes, 10 chrétiens, 9 hindous, 5 taoïstes, 2 sikhs, un animiste et 0 athée. Cependant, pour qui circule dans les rues de Kuala Lumpur, de Penang ou de Malacca, le spectacle est édifiant. Des groupes ethniques présents depuis plus de 150 ans en Malaisie se côtoient sans se mélanger. Les Chinois sont avec les Chinois, les Malais avec les Malais, les Hindous avec les Hindous. On ne rencontre qu'exceptionnellement des couples mixtes. Ainsi, au début du XXIe siècle, la Malaisie propose aux voyageurs le spectacle du monde entier réuni dans son espace, la Chine coexistant avec l'Inde et l'islam avec l'Occident, puisque la culture scientifique, capitaliste et commerciale est partout présente. Ce film est allé entendre ce qu'ont à dire de la Malaisie des personnalités de tous les cultes attachés au dialogue interreligieux.
I went visiting to Western countries, I found that on Sundays the churches were all empty. In fact, they were drinking beer in bars outside and under umbrella and all that, under the sun. But in fact, I went into the church thinking that was a beautiful church, ancient church in Frankfurt. I thought there would be at least 3,000-4,000 people inside. And what I saw was there were only about 30-40 old aged people. And the rest of us were foreigners like us, going round, looking and admiring the beautiful architecture. You see? Whereas here, you find that the churches are full.
« 90% des Malaisiens sont vraiment pratiquants pour leur religion, que ce soit les hindous, les bouddhistes, les malais bien sûr, pour l'islam, les chrétiens, que ce soit en Malaisie ou à Singapour, vous avez des églises bondées.
Every citizen of Malaysia have at certain times also in their lives will have to what they call take the oath on the Rukun Negara. Okay, the Rukun Negara is actually 5 principles, and one of the principles, in fact it's the first principle, is belief in God. So that simply means that each and every individual citizen of this country must have a faith. So there's no question of what you can say that you're a free thinker. Whether you like it or not, you must have a faith. You must believe in a particular religion.
L'islam en Asie du Sud-Est a été introduit par des commerçants et non pas par des conquérants. Les Malais en sont fiers. Est-ce ce passé historique qui leur fait élire dans le Coran les versets les plus humanistes et les leçons de tolérance ?
The Prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, once said, if any of you Muslims take the smallest right of the non-Muslim from what is due to him, I will be the first witness on his behalf against you in the hereafter. So the Muslim cannot take advantage, unfair advantage of the non-Muslim when he is in power.
Religion is guaranteed by the Malaysian Constitution. Article 11 of the Malaysian Constitution allows freedom of worship, freedom of religion. And under that article, we are all enjoying the freedom. There is no interference from anybody in our daily practices. All the strict practices we can do without any interference. There is no difference.
We're a country in which Islam is the majority religion, but from a legal standpoint, we are a secular country, not in the sense of being godless, but rather being in the sense of having freedom to practice any religion that we think is what we want. So the Constitution does state that Islam is the religion of Malaysia. However, from historical point of view, that's purely for ceremonial purposes, and the courts in this country have pronounced quite clearly that Islam is limited to just purely personal law issues and is not the governing law of the country.
practice freely. The government is liberal. Malaysian government is liberal. They allow us to practice our religions without any hindrance.
Il semble donc qu'il y ait une réelle liberté de culte dans ce pays. Mais est-ce une liberté totale ?
It depends on what you mean by freedom, because every religion is allowed to practice. We are allowed to have public celebrations, but if it's outside the premises of the church or the temple, we have to get a police permit. So in that way, the freedom is not that much. Also, as long as we don't, at the moment now in Malaysia, it's very important not to go and convert people. And so you really don't have that amount of freedom to go outside your own territory to convert. And certainly we cannot convert a Muslim.
En somme, dans ce pays majoritairement musulman, un paradoxe veut que les seuls à ne pas disposer de la liberté de changer de religion soient les musulmans. En tout cas, il y a une paix civile réelle et même exceptionnelle, puisque les grandes religions coexistent sans violence ici, quand elles sont d'ordinaire en compétition les unes avec les autres.
Competition is actually due to their religious labels, names. Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Islam. If they follow only religion, there won't be any conflict or problems and misunderstanding. They follow religious principles. No competition.
I suppose this is the only country where when the Muslim festival of breaking the fast and ending the fast in Ramadan, there is a festival known as Hari Raya. And on that day, anyone can go to the king's palace. He is a Muslim. King's palace, and he will be entertained. He will be welcomed by the king. And any religion.
When the other races are celebrating, for instance, the Hari Raya, the Muslim New Year, is to be able to pray for them. And there are other churches where they don't mind like sending delegates over for, say, celebration. In Malaysia, there's a big thing called open house policy, whereby we go to each other's place for the celebration of major festivities like Chinese New Year, Deepavali. Deepavali is the Hindu festival of lights. Then the Hari Raya Aidilfitri is the Muslim New Year. These are the time when we also said that this is a god of joy, of light, of the other races and religion.
For most of the religions of the people here, for example, the Indians and the Chinese, they have religions that are very peaceful. They are not militant or missionary type of religions. the people will worship their own ancestral gods, and they are not very concerned about what other people are doing, and they don't try to convert them. And that's why I think there is this so-called peaceful coexistence. There are only two so-called missionary religions in Penang, and I think they are Christianity and Islam.
Peter has this great conversion, and he now, as a result of the conviction of the Holy Spirit, believes that the gospel is not the property of any one particular culture or race.
Christianity is very adaptable. Christianity has a long history of living in other cultures. Long time, Christianity was Western religion. You want to be a Christian, you must be like the Western people. You must do it. But now Christianity has so long history. You have Christianity in India, Christianity in Africa, and they do it their own way too. And so, because it's so adaptable, Christianity can appeal to many people in whichever situation they are.
I don't think it's easy to be a Christian anywhere in the world. But in Malaysia it's very exciting because our ancient cultures are still alive. Before, in our former religions, we have very real encounters with the spirits of our ancestors. We know that they are real, you see. But when we meet Jesus, we discover that Jesus has set us free from all these spirits, you see. We no longer have to fear them or worship them. So when a former Hindu or Buddhist or Taoist become a Christian, it is because they have met Jesus. It is not a liturgical conversion. It is a conversion of the heart.
We put our left hand thumb into the right hand, in between the right hand thumb and second finger. And then left hand cover the right hand. And this is the Taoist way of praying. And this is exactly the same as Tai Chi. The white side that represents the sky, heaven, universe. And then black represents earth.
3/4 Chinese in Malaysia are Taoists.
Taoism is a religion that can accommodate other religions' cultures. And then we can get along with other religions. And of course, the Taoism doesn't insist that the Taoists to convert other religion. We don't insist that. They have the freedom of belief. That is from the ancient time until now. And as far as Malaysia is concerned, we also get along with other religions very well, like Hindu Sangam, Sikhism, Christianity, and even Muslim.
The Sikh religion is based on one God, the Creator, and all human beings and everything created by Him, and all are equal. In the Sikh religion, women are given equal status with men. All religious ceremonies can be conducted both by men or women, whoever is learned in that thing. And Sikh religion believes in one God and no distinction on the human race. Everybody is same, we were created by one God. And we don't have any auspicious days or rituals. It is a direct approach to God through the prayers which Guru Nanak and subsequent 9 Gurus. The Sikh religion is very open to everybody. It is not a racial, it is not based on in country only, it is for the whole humanity. So anybody who wants to become a Sikh and follow the teachings of Guru Nanak and the other Gurus and the Guru Granth Sahib is welcome.
Buddhism is actually a philosophy which they call teaches you how to lead a respectful, good life. Okay, it contains a lot of morals and so on, as you can see in other religions too.
A group of students from University of Islam, after listening to the teachings of the Buddha, asked me whether they can follow the teachings of the Buddha without changing their religion. Then I told them, usually we do not change others' religions by giving another label. They can remain as Christians or Muslims or Hindus, but the teachings of the Buddha is practical, appealing to their mind, they can practice.
The moral principles which you find in each respective religion is being taught by Lord Buddha himself. So you don't need to change religion to become Buddhist, right? As long as you can practice the basic principles of what they call, which you find in your respective religion, you are a good Muslim, and hence you are a good Buddhist.
Hinduism basically is a very, very misunderstood religion, but it is probably the oldest religion in the world, and it evolves by itself, adapting itself to the times. Whatever has happened 5,000, 6,000 years ago, the religion was there and adapted by the people of that time. Hinduism is in another way misunderstood because they say that Hindus worship many gods and have lots of idols. But these idols are merely symbols. Our idols are images of the people. They build and make these idols as symbols. We believe in a supreme being as the authority, as the Almighty Lord. But we give him the different names. In fact, we do not believe that he actually has an image, but we picture him in the way we like to see.
I've been living in Malaysia for so many years with all these different religions, and as I grew up, I was never conscious that I'm a Christian and you're a Muslim or you're a Hindu. I was only conscious that we were friends or we were schoolmates or we were students together. There was a Hindu temple and there was a Malay mosque side by side. And people used to go there and worship, and I thought, oh, that's a wonderful example of, religion's tolerance and acceptance. But then over the years, I think with the fundamentalism that was creeping in from, Iran and the Middle East, and also Malaysians themselves, the different religious groups were becoming more conscious of their own identity with their religion. And I do not know what happened, but the two groups were irritated by the way each other celebrated festivals, a lot of noise, clanging of bells, and a little violence took place.
My view is I think it was easier before. I think now because of the interconnection between ethnicity, politics and religion, meaning Islam, I think there has been a bigger degree of polarization in the last few years. So you will find that in general, and I'm making a very general statement, communities tend to arrange themselves by ethnicity now, more so than before. So in the 60s, 70s, even the earlier 80s, there wasn't this emphasis on religious differences as there is now. So I think we were a freer, more open society 20-25 years ago compared to now.
Les Malaisiens de 2005 se félicitent en général de la liberté dont ils disposent de pratiquer leur religion. Mais si la Malaisie est un pays plus tolérant que la plupart des autres pays de l'islam, la notion de liberté y est encore limitée. L'enseignement public, par exemple, est dominé par l'islam, qui est le seul culte subventionné par l'État. Mais les difficultés les plus notables viennent des mariages mixtes entre musulmans et non-musulmans.
If a Sikh want to marry a Muslim in this country, he must convert to Islam. Otherwise, the law does not allow him to marry a Muslim without conversion.
Here in this country, it's compulsory. It's a one-way traffic. When you decide to marry a Muslim, you have to convert, immaterial whether you're a Christian, a Buddhist, a Hindu, or any other religion. If you're not a Muslim, you have to convert to marry. Okay, so there's no question about it. That's a law here.
See, once you lose your religion, you're losing everything. My forefather's name and everything you're losing. If you have your surname or whatever it is, that I think you're losing everything. So we want our religions to keep up. You may have a love and all that, but if you think your love is higher than your religion, or your religion is higher than the love. For the Muslims, the religions are number one, then only the love. Yes. So we used to tell them, whenever you marry somebody, see that you keep up your own religion, let them keep up their own religion.
Pour juger de l'état d'un pays, c'est toujours un bon critère que d'y regarder la condition féminine.
People say Islam does not believe in equality, we like to think that Islam believes in equality. And there are verses in the Quran, which is my Bible, for example, for Muslim men and women, for believing men and women, for devout men and women, for men and women who are patient and constant, for men and women who humble themselves, for men and women who give in charity, for men and women who fast and deny themselves, for men and women who guard their chastity, and for men and women who engage much in God's praise. For them, God has prepared forgiveness and great reward.
Much as the different religions speak about equality of men and women, somehow or another I find in dialogue, people can find passages in the scriptures that say men and women are created equal, but in actual fact they are not. In Malaysia, women have made a lot of progress in the sense that many are ministers, many hold good positions in companies, and in the churches, many women participate as lay leaders and do a lot of work. But still, when it comes to real decision making, women are not consulted.
I don't think it's a problem of Islam or a problem of the of Muslims. It depends on where you go. For example, of course, in some places women cannot vote. In Saudi Arabia women cannot vote, and it's only recently that in Kuwait women could vote. and they won't be able to vote until 2 years later. Muslim women in Malaysia have been able to vote since independence, so that's, we've never had that problem of not being equal in some areas. Women in many religions face discrimination from within their faith, and that is something that they have in common, and that is what binds them together. And maybe that's what Ms. Bones was referring to when she talked about, that being qualities. I think we all face discrimination and inequality in the practice of our religions.
If dialogue is to take place between the different religions, I think it'll come through women, because we will then be working on issues and not just on theological discussions, which makes everybody uptight and angry and defensive.
Le plus grand paradoxe de ce pays, c'est bien l'assimilation des savoirs technologiques occidentaux par un peuple si fervent. Et les villes malaisiennes n'ont guère à envier aux plus modernes métropoles.
The whole empirical method, the deductive investigative method, came from Islam. That is the civilization which founded modern science. So why should one say that Muslims are uneasy with science? They have no problem with science. And even today, if you look at issues like stem cell research, Muslim scholars have said that they have no problem with stem cell research. They have no problem at all.
I think in this country the experience has been that for whatever reason, the majority community, which is the Malays, have a very strong link to their religion. So then to say that this will necessarily retard them from progression is not correct, because our experience has been a very good one. So in the last 47 years we've advanced tremendously.
I think in Malaysia the economy and the infrastructure is modern, but the heart, the culture is not. The culture is I would say, is a living culture. It is very ancient. So there are many ancient races in Malaysia, and in their heart they follow the culture of their ancestors. So there is this tension that is very interesting in Malaysia, that they live in modern buildings, they are educated in science and technology, but in their heart they follow the beliefs of their ancestors. For us, the spiritual world coexists with the scientific world. They are not in opposition. Whereas in the West, I think they have forgotten about the spiritual world. Maybe they are rediscovering the psychological world, but certainly the spiritual world is gone.
Malaysia is one of the very few countries in the south which has succeeded in ensuring a certain degree of social justice for its people compared to many other countries. And a movement committed to global justice would make sense from that point of view, because Malaysia is one of the most multi-religious societies in the world. And we are talking about the dialogue of civilizations, the dialogue of cultures. I suppose this is a good place to begin such a dialogue.
We do not have what I would say economic problems, because I think when we look at the situation in other countries where there is a lot of violence, I think a lot of it is, or some of it is economic problems, some of it is maybe migrant population, whereas here in Malaysia, I would say generally the standard of living is very good for everybody. So religion cannot be used as a tool to move into violence. And also because people are educated here, the literacy rate is very high, maybe compared to other countries. And so we are very lucky here in Malaysia.
There is a trend for many religions now to be more inclusive, saying that all religions are the same, all religions are correct, we're all worshipping the same God, same God, but calling him different names. You know, you practice what you feel you like, you know, that's good enough. But I cannot say that as a Muslim, because in the Quran, God says the only religion in the sight of God is Islam. But the commandment to us is also to fully respect the other people's right to believe what they choose to believe, to respect that there is goodness too in their religion, as long as those things do not go against our religion.
Mainstream Islam is very slow to interact with Christianity for reasons that, well, within the politics of Malaysia, there are different factions of Islam. They don't want to be seen to be, you know, to be in dialogue, say, with Christianity, for fear that, you know, that kind of relationship can be politicized, and therefore they might not do so well in the next election. Basically, there are very good relationship between groups, what we call NGOs. So I think the best way to describe this relationship is it's not homogeneous, and therefore at different levels, there are different degree of relationship between Islam and Christianity. Therefore, there are points of contact and communication and dialogue between the two world religions.
Every day we come into contact with the Muslim or with the Hindu. Where we live, our neighbor may be a Hindu, our neighbor on this side may be a Buddhist. There are three positions Christianity takes. One is the straightforward position, and that is our religion is true and all the other religion is not true. Why do you say that our religion is true? Because there are things in the Bible which say that our God is the only God. The second position is that, yes, our religion has the truth, but we do not comment on the other religions. Alright, we don't say the other religion is true or not true. We say our religion is true, but we don't say the other religion is true or not true, and therefore we relate with each other. The third, and that's the final one, and that's a more progressive position that some Christians have, is that we are living in this earth. Our religion is for us. The Buddhism is for the Buddhists. Hinduism is for the Hindu. They may not want to convert to Christianity, and Christianity may not want to convert to them, but we all share one life. And in our day, in our world where there's so many problems, we as religion must be united to build a better world.
You look at the believers of other religion, there's so much goodness, generosity, kindness, mercy, compassion, and justice, in their hearts as well. We are not the only people with those values. So if we believe that, God is alive in us and in them, then we must really talk in order to recognize what good is there, in each other's religion, in the heart of each people of the different religion.
When we speak of the word dialogue, people think we are going to talk theological, issues like this, whether Jesus is, the only savior of the world and all that. I think that's a very difficult area, and I feel that we should move into a relationship, getting to know the person first, getting to understand the person, and this kind of thing causes fear in the Catholics. And the other one is relativism, which means that they warn us that Jesus is not like any of the other prophets or Buddha, that he is different, and only Christianity has the whole truth. And this is the problem, because Islam also say only Islam has the whole truth. The other religions are more open, and they don't make such faith claims.
As I understand these things, we have seen a greater increase in more fundamentalist thinking amongst Muslims, which is a problem. Because of the linkage between religion and politics, government will not take a strong position against this kind of thinking for fear that they may be seen as being anti-Islamic. But this is a problem, you see. You cannot control fundamentalist thinking. You cannot control it. Be it Islamic, Christian, any type of fundamentalist religious thinking, you cannot control it. It takes a life of its own, and then what do? I've often said it's like trying to catch a tiger by the tail. It's going to turn around and bite you very, very hard.
Que seront les lendemains d'une nation qui n'est peut-être pas encore tout à fait un seul peuple pour l'instant, mais un assemblage de communautés ethniques et de confessions religieuses parfois antagonistes? En tout cas, dans la recomposition générale du monde et des hommes, la Malaisie dispose visiblement d'atouts considérables pour faire émerger un modèle inédit de coexistence.
I am a Sikh by religion, and I practice my religion for my personal advancement, for my personal relationship with God, my personal relationship with the people in the country and my community and the other community. But I am a Malaysian, as a Malaysian citizen, doing all my duties as a Malaysian citizen, which I was a government servant.
My soul is a Hindu, my body is Malaysia. Any trouble, any country is problem, I have to stand for my country. My country comes first. Then only my soul is a Hindu. I am a Hindu, born a Hindu.
Every day we are being asked to identify ourselves by our ethnicity and our racial background. So for example, if I go to a government department, the forms will say Malay, Chinese, Indian, and so on. This is a problem, obviously. When you keep on emphasizing differences, then unity becomes a very elusive thing. The problem gets more compounded when you overlay in religion onto ethnicity. So in the minds of the average Malaysian now, Malay equals Muslim. Malay is given a more privileged position in this society because of historical reasons. And so in the thinking, that means Islam is given a more privileged position as well, when the two are combined. So I think if we keep on, as a policy, if we keep on emphasizing differences of ethnicity, then unity becomes a very, very difficult thing, obviously.
Years ago, it would have been true to say that the Chinese were economically strong, they were economically dominant, Just as 40, 50 years ago one could have said that political power was largely Malay. But today I think the situation is a bit different. As a result of the new economic policy implemented from 1971 onwards, there are more and more Malays in business, in the professions. There are Malays who also exercise economic power. And if you look at our cabinet, you look at parliament, you look at civil society, you find that there are a lot of non-Malays who are also active. So you can't talk about the sort of rigid dichotomy that existed in the past. That has changed.
In Europe, I think for many, for a long, long time, they still carry a history of conflict. Conflict of the war, conflict of the religion, many conflicts. In Malaysia we have, but our history is still very young as a nation. So we don't have long history that goes back to show this animosity. So my children, for example, would grow up in a modern society, which is very mixed, and don't have a history of animosity.
The future in Malaysia depends a lot on the kind of leaders we have and the kind of dialogue we have between the religious leaders and the political leaders, and also between the civil leaders of the civil society. If they keep talking to each other and if they are able to listen, give and take, I think there's a lot of hope in this country, what this country will become in future. Because already, it is true, the Islamic world is looking at Malaysia and said that, gee, there are many ingredients that make this country work. It's religion, it's the market system, it's democracy, it's local cultures, it's ethnicity. So there are many factors that seems to make this country work as a project.
I think it's a great country. I'm very proud to be Malaysian. I'm very happy to live here. We have opportunities which I think you cannot find anywhere else. And in this country, if you are willing to work hard, willing to apply yourself, by and large, you will be able to become successful. Quality of life is good. But on the other hand, I'm fearful. Because 15 years, 20 years, 25 years down the road, I don't want to, for example, live or have children in a society where they are constantly being told, you are this as opposed to that. You are different from that person. And unfortunately, our experience is that this is becoming the case.
I think there's a lot of realization in Malaysia that religion can be stirred up, can be used as a political weapon, and we see some of this tension already. For example, after the September 9/11, so I think the government is very aware that that the religion should not be radicalized. But as I said, the good news is that most of the ancient religions of the Chinese and the Indians, they are not radical religions. They are not missionary type of religions. Christianity is a very small force in Malaysia, so I don't think it will be radicalized. Yeah.
Les clés de l'avenir sont probablement entre les mains de la majorité musulmane de la Malaisie. C'est elle qui aura à choisir quel sera le visage de ce pays dans le siècle à venir. L'égalité parfaite entre tous les citoyens? La domination de l'islam? Un équilibre volontariste fait de discrimination positive? Rendez-vous dans 50 ans.